Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what is probably the most universal parenting struggle of our modern era: screen time. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by how much time your kids spend glued to their devices, trust me, you are definitely not alone. We're going to break down exactly what the top pediatricians are saying to help you navigate this crazy digital landscape. Get this. The St. Louis Children's Hospital highlighted a statistic that is just absolutely mind-boggling. The average teenager spends about 7 hours a day on screens. 7 hours. And it's not just the older kids. Preteens are clocking in at around 5 hours a day. Think about that for a second. You've only got 24 hours in a day, right? Subtract sleep, subtract school, and that 7 hours literally eats up almost all of a kid's free time.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the screen time struggle. Then, medical impacts of screens. Next up, official AAP age guidelines. After that, practical tips for reduction, followed by handling screen time meltdowns, and finally, building healthier digital habits. Okay, let's dive into this.
Section 1. The screen time struggle. Look, before we go any further, we absolutely have to acknowledge the real-world pressure parents are under today. This is huge. As the sources point out, this reliance on screens, it is not your fault. Parents today are incredibly busy balancing work and household chores, and so many of us are raising kids in these nuclear setups without that traditional built-in support system of extended family right down the street. So in those crunch moments, say you've got a massive work meeting or you're just frantically trying to get dinner on the table, handing a kid a screen is often the only available option to keep them safely engaged. It's a systemic issue. It is definitely not a personal failure.
Section 2. Medical impacts of screens.
Now, sure, screens are a convenient tool, but we do have to face the medical reality here. Experts like Kaiser pediatrician Dr. Ken Hemstead are raising some major red flags. Doctors are seeing real long-term impacts on children's moods. They're specifically noting spikes in anxiety and depression. There's also a noticeable drop in physical fitness. But honestly, perhaps the most alarming thing, kids are losing the ability to self-entertain and self-soothe. Plus, all that continuous scrolling is just shredding their attention spans. When a child relies entirely on a glowing rectangle to regulate their mood, they completely miss out on building their own internal coping skills.
Section 3. Official age guidelines.
So, what's the official medical advice? Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics has laid out a specific timeline to help parents out. Let's walk through it. For kids under 2 years old, the AAP says to avoid screen time completely. 0, because babies learn best from direct, face-to-face interaction with a caregiver. Now, for preschoolers, ages 3 to 5, the guideline is about 1 hour a day. And ideally, that's with a parent actively co-viewing and guiding them. For older kids, it's less about a strict hour limit and much more about balance. The goal is to prioritize sleep and physical activity first, and then whatever time is left over, that can be used for screens.
Section 4. Practical tips for reduction.
Okay, so knowing the rules is one thing, right? Actually enforcing them is a whole different ballgame. You really need a solid backup plan if you're taking screens away. And the experts point out there is a massive difference between different types of devices. Sitting down as a family to watch a nature documentary on the TV, that's a highly controlled, shared experience. But handing a kid a mobile phone, that usually leads to endless, highly stimulatory scrolling. On a phone, parents have zero control over that rapid-fire content, which, by the way, is intentionally designed to be addicting. So whenever possible, try to shift that screen time over to the television for much better boundaries.
So, what do we do instead? Here are some really practical alternatives. First up, identify 5 to 7 independent activities your kid actually enjoys. Think Lego sets or coloring books. A complex Lego set can literally buy you a solid hour of uninterrupted time during a big work call. No screens required. Second, try building a neighborhood or society playgroup so your kids have actual peers to interact with. Third, check out the free AAP Media Plan tool online. It's super helpful for mapping out the day. And lastly, build your support system. Seriously, don't set unrealistic expectations that you can be a superhero who works full-time, does all the chores, and perfectly manages the kids all on your own. Lean on your family, your friends, or professionals. Section 5. Handling screen time meltdowns.
All right, time to address the elephant in the room, the inevitable tantrums that are going to happen when you actually enforce these new rules. Dr. Hemstead talks about something called the meltdown test, and it's pretty revealing. Basically, if you want to gauge if your kid's screen use is problematic, just try taking the device away. If that action causes a severe meltdown, their media consumption is completely out of balance. It's wild, but what you're actually witnessing is a child's brain suddenly missing its dopamine hit. It mimics a true addiction. So, what do you actually do when the meltdown happens? Pediatricians recommend a 2-step approach.
Step 1. Validate the difficult emotion. Tell them you get how hard it is. Remember, they are going through genuine dopamine withdrawal. It really isn't their fault. Step 2. Hold the firm boundary. You can sit with them through the tough feelings, but do not change your stance. The experts warn parents that the crying and the struggle, it's going to be intensely difficult for the first 15 to 30 days. But if you hold firm, your child will eventually relearn how to engage themselves without needing a screen.
Section 6. Building healthier digital habits. Ultimately, this is all about playing the long game and creating a sustainable family culture around technology. The biggest theme from pediatricians? Slow reduction. Don't beat yourself up or have totally unrealistic expectations about fixing everything perfectly in a single day. Slow and steady wins the race here. Start simple. Just try pulling things back a little bit. A really great first step is establishing a sheltered, device-free zone for talking, like making the family dinner table a strict no-phone area.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. And I want to leave you with this question to really think about. What will your family's new media plan look like tomorrow? Remember, you don't have to overhaul everything all at once, but with these doctor-approved strategies, you absolutely have the power to slowly and confidently take back your child's time and well-being. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and best of luck building those healthier digital habits.